Good evening and welcome back to All for United. Unfortunately, this was going to be a show previewing the Preston game, but unfortunately, due to a couple of positive tests at the Manchester United training ground, which a small number of positive cases have been found in the lateral flow testing, the game this weekend has been called off. Obviously, they're going to be self-isolating, waiting for their PCR tests to come and to confirm whether the cases are positive or whether they are negative. But that has a knock-on effect for the game. Unfortunately, it has been cancelled this weekend. But that doesn't stop our show from going on. We are going to talk about Anthony Elanga because I have left the thumbnail as Anthony Elanga, and I want to know how good he actually is. I'm going to ask our guests as soon as I bring them in. I'm going to ask you in the comments to get involved as soon as we go live. Well, we are live now, but as soon as we get our guests in, and we've done this snazzy new intro that we've got coming up for you in a few seconds, but we're going to ask that. And also, we're going to recap on last night's game at Old Trafford. Just in case any of you have missed it, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the game last night with the 2-2 draw against Brentford at Old Trafford. And finally, which was going to be Monday night show, it was supposed to be a Monday night show. It was my idea, but I thought since it didn't happen on Monday night, I'll bring it in. It's COVID passports. Will it put people off going to football matches? COVID passports. Will it put you off going to football matches? It's a big hot debate, and of course the government are saying that it's for large crowds over 20,000. It's going to come in to fruition at the end of start of October, end of September. But the Premier League have said they're going to hit the road running, and they're going to bring it in for August, the start of the season, with I think it's Arsenal and Tottenham. Tottenham. The friendly on the 7th of August, that's going to be the first tested event for the COVID passports. Do you agree with it or not? Anyway, we shall find out what my guests are saying. Just right after this, as I said, this snazzy intro, this new intro, I'll play it for you now.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
And just like that, I hope I've done it right. This is my first ever time doing it like that. Hopefully, if not, Ben will tell me off in the comments or later on via messages. But I'm hoping that's gone all right. Anyway, good evening once again. I hope everybody is all right on the other side of the internet. Joining us today, shall we say, is Henry. How are you, pal?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm not bad, mate. Not bad. And my good friend Andrew, who I keep bumping into ways these days. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem, mate. No problem. Unfortunately, Stu was supposed to be joining us, but unfortunately, the guy is snowed under at work at Silverstone. So, Stu, I hope you're well, mate, and I hope you're not too busy, and I hope you're watching, mate, because if you are watching, thank you, pal. Anyway, let's get into it. And I'm going to lead off with the title of the thumbnail, the title of the show. How good is Anthony Elanga? Because for me, he's been the star of pre-season so far, and I just wanted to get your opinion on it, Henry. Am I jumping the gun? Is this the next wonder kid, or are we just seeing maybe myself jumping the gun just a slight bit?
I don't know. I really don't know, because it's been a pre-season that's been great for him as a player. He's been fantastic. He's kind of proving he's ready for the first team. And you know, we always talk about wonder kids when they come through at United, and it's one of those words that can have a kind of heavy weight on the player, I guess. But I think we'll find out if we keep him this season and loan other players out. I think we'll find out what he's really made of. And but I'm really impressed. And this is one of the things about pre-season, having a good pre-season. You know, now there's question marks over, are we going to keep Dan James, or, you know, is Ahmad going to go out on loan as well? Or are we going to keep Elanga instead of, you know, loaning him out or keeping him in the 23s? And I'm excited for this because I think he's a great player. I think he's direct. He's everything you want in a United player, an attacking United player. He's direct. He's powerful. He's got a lot of pace. There's obviously room for growth. But over a period of the next kind of year or so, if we can build him and make him a bit, physical enough for the Premier League, who's to say that he can't play in the Premier League, consistently? But again, that's a bit of a jump at the moment. But I think we're all a bit excited about him because he looks like a fantastic player.
Absolutely. Andrew, I might jump in the gun, mate, because, listen, I've been there before where I've said X is not, a wonder kid. I was there with James Wilson, mate. I was buzzing about James Wilson, I thought this guy's going to make it. Unfortunately, didn't quite happen. I said it about Ravel Morrison back in the day as well, because even back then when I was watching, the reserves, the 23s, the 21s, it was no back then really than the 21s. I was like, this guy is on the hype train. Everyone's hyping Pogba a little bit, but I think, Ravel Morrison's a little bit better, and that didn't really work out. Are we right to heap praise on Anthony Elanga's shoulders, or should we just be a bit cautious, considering that we have sort of maybe said this kid's the next wonder kid and it's not quite happened? What's your feelings on it, mate?
I'd say we're right to praise him with the performance he's had so far, but also just to be a little bit cautious as well. I mean, he's got the potential. It's just whether he fulfills that potential or not. I mean, Ollie said after the QPR game he was electric, and he has a good chance of sticking around the first team rather than going out on loan. I mean, he was given the trust to start the game against Brentford, and obviously he needed the good performance to keep up his momentum, and he certainly delivered. I mean, the cross from Wan-Bissaka, Elanga, just the technique he used to just score was just so brilliant. I mean, in his last 8 games from reading for United, the under-23s and Sweden's under-21s, he's hit 7 goals. So he's a player in form at the moment, and he could be very useful if Rashford does end up undergoing his operation. I mean, Elanga's full of confidence at the moment, and during the Brentford game, he's making dangerous runs in and around the box. Also, he was testing their defence with his press. And he was doing exactly what Ollie had asked for him. So he's given Ollie the perfect headache. As I say, that's what we want. We want players fighting for their places. So. And we sort of got a glimpse of what he was all about in the last game of the last season against Wolves, where he was making those good runs and he got on the score sheet. I mean, with the arrival of Jadon Sancho, Martial's return to fitness, and obviously Ahmad's talent as well, it's the path to the first team seems like it's got a lot of hurdles for him at the moment, but his recent performances you can't ignore. So he's safe. I think Ollie also said, I think after yesterday's game, if they give you reasons to like them, they give you reasons to play them, then you have to play them. It's like the Busby saying, if they're good enough, they're good enough to play as well. So I think he's a future rest at the moment on Marcus Rashford and Ahmed, whether they start the season or not. So it'll be interesting to see whether he goes on to fill that potential, but I would like to see him stay around the first team rather than go out and on. But that's down to what Ollie sees and whether he thinks it's beneficial to him or not.
Just going into the comments. What's up, Hammer? How are you doing, pal? Hope you're all right, mate. Hope everything's treat you all right in the States, pal. Rob's here. Sorry, I was just calling Rob's Hayes then. Rob's here. Elanga's really bulked up in the summer loan if Ollie isn't going to start him. Well, we'll see. Ollie's spoken really highly of him so far. Karthik's here to join us. How are you, pal?
Not too bad. Last minute change of video, I see.
Well, yeah. Well, I thought I'd just, as I said, explain. I thought I'd keep the Elanga bit because obviously I think, right, like most people think he's had the spot on pre-season so far. He's probably been our most outstanding performer. And also, we're going to obviously go into the game a bit last night. And then I thought we did a COVID passport thing, which we was going to do on Monday night, which obviously got knocked on the head because of the Varane news and what have you. So, welcome, pal. Welcome. Thanks for joining in filling in the panel, shall we say, to make it an equal foursome.
What?
An equal foursome, pal, so equal screen, basically. Probably the wrong choice of wording. I can see your face there.
I thought I'd pop into a little bit. Anthony Elanga. He's done what most people would want him to do with that chance. Basically, in these pre-season games, the chance for the youngsters to go out and really impress and sort of put their name out there for people to look at and go, hang on a minute. Oh, my thing is completely lagged. Am I still here?
Yeah, it's like there, mate, just slightly. Yeah,
I've come here to help, and I'm going to lag out. Anyway, no, yeah, no, he's impressed. He's done well, and I think Ollie will be looking at him and going, Rashford's not ready. We've got players coming back from breaks, not entirely fit. We've got Martial who's still not fit. Anthony Elanga might be someone who starts against Leeds.
ooh, that's a big claim there. Henry, what we're saying about that, mate? Would you be happy to see Anthony Elanga starting against Leeds?
I think one more pre-season game of him and see how he gets on in that. Play him not 50, not 60. Play him 70 or 80 minutes and see what he's like with with a better side against a better side. I think the next one's Everton, isn't it? I might.
Correct, mate, yeah.
So it's a better quality of opposition anyway. So play him in that and see where you're at. It's one of those where we've got players coming back from the Euros and it's not as simple as just chucking them together and hoping it all kind of gels, because obviously you've got Sancho and Varane who are new. So it's not all going to gel straight away. So maybe it is an option. And, I'm hoping and praying. I know Ole said yesterday that the decision on Rashford's operation will be made in the next few days. I'm hoping and praying he just has it. Elanga's playing really well at the moment. Obviously, you've got Martial as cover. You've got Greenwood and Sancho. So just let him have the operation. I'm hoping and praying, because 100% fit or 95% fit Rashford, I mean, that's quite scary. It really is, but it's definitely not scary for us. So hopefully we'll see Elanga more in the next game, and I go off that. If he does well, why not? Why not?
Exactly, why not? Andrew, come to you, pal. Would you be happy to see Elanga start, or do you, against Leeds United in the opening game of the Premier League season, or do you want somebody in there with a little bit more experience, a little bit more nous, especially considering the opposition that we're playing?
It all depends on Rashford's, whether he has that operation or not, or even on Martial's fitness, because obviously, would he make it in time for the friendly against Everton next week? No one quite knows. So if neither of those players are out, I would throw him in there, because I think he could do a job for us. Like Henry said, 70 minutes, get him out, and then if Martial was ready by the start of the season, then you could throw him on for the last 20 minutes, and then if we're like, God forbid, we're having to chase a goal or get ahead, then Martial could prove a threat as well. So Elanga showed great promise during these pre-season friendlies, and especially the QPR game. When we were losing, he was still getting the ball, getting on the attack, being a threat, and he deserved more than the one goal he scored. He could have literally had about 3 goals and got us back into the game and could have got us a draw. So I wouldn't be surprised if Elanga's given the nod if Martial and Rashford are not not ready in time.
Absolutely. Karthik, I'll come to you. Obviously, on the news that the game, obviously, against Preston has been suspended on Saturday. Does this put us on a back foot now, do you think, going into the new season? Obviously, being -1 game that we could have used for extra little bit of sharpness, and obviously bringing in more players coming back slowly but surely. Surely Bruno would have got some game time in this one as well. So do you think that's going to hamper us going into the new season?
So was that to me? I lagged out when you asked the question.
Yeah, it was to you, pal, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll be too much of a worry. I think either way, it wouldn't have been. It's not like the entire first team would have played anyway. It gives them, if anything, extra time to go and recover, rest, get some training in there, and then you can go to the Everton game and maybe have a few more than we would have seen against Preston. On a personal note, I'd have liked us to play Preston because I used to live there. But whatever. But no, I don't think we'll miss out too much. I think, if anything, it just helps the squad a little bit. We're playing catch up anyway, so any extra time is helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Me and Andrew had tickets for this game. Unfortunately, that's now going to have to be, as Andrew put it, put in the bin. Andrew, how good are you on a level of 1 to 10 at this game? This game's unfortunately not going to go ahead, because this would have been an absolute packed out away end, because United did sell all the tickets. There's been no, unlike QPR where they did release tickets again for the sale to public who could pick up from Old Trafford, this time absolutely zero availability. It was all sold out. How disappointed are you that unfortunately this game cannot go ahead now?
Obviously disappointed that we're not going to be able to go and see United play at Preston, but just as I was saying backstage, at least with the small outbreak of positive cases, at least it's happened now and not, as I said before, the Leeds game, and they had to postpone that. We'd all have been extremely gutted if that game didn't go ahead. So, but in terms of, as Carpet was saying, I don't think he's going to put us much on the back foot. I mean, most of the first team players that are likely to play against Leeds are not back. Are coming back to training. So I think some of them will probably play next week against Everton. Well, hopefully there's no more outbreak and we get that game to go ahead. So, but I think, I think those United players that are coming back to training, they'll be up for that game against Leeds. And plus us fans being back inside the stadium, if none of those players are not up for it, then there's something wrong with them. But they should, to say, the first game of the season, they want to get on the front foot. We want to get the win and then throw a marker down to the rest of the league to say that we are here. So, and we're going to be challenged for this title. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Absolutely,
mate, absolutely. This is good, because that away end would have been bouncing. Yeah. Henry, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Karthik. In your opinion, does this put us on a back foot now a little bit, that we've got one less game now to prepare for the new season? With the likes of that, Bruno would have probably had some form of game time. Donny van de Beek would have had more game time. Diego Dalot would have had more game time. There might have been a couple of others back before for the game as well. Do you think it's going to severely hamper us, or is it just what it is now? We're going to have to get used to these sort of things with matches called off with little notice.
I think we're going to have to get a little bit more used to it now that the rules have been relaxed in the country. I think things like this will happen throughout the season, and it's just preparation for it. It's whether the club are prepared and whether we've got enough players to, if you've got 2 or 3 top players out, have we got the right players to come in and fill those positions? My only worry at the moment, and this is one thing that's just kind of dawned on me, we are playing Leeds, one of the fittest teams in the league. And if you're not 100% against those guys, they will rip you apart. So, Bielsa will have been playing murder ball with them for the last 3 months, basically killing them all in training every time they walk in. So, they'll be more than prepared for the game. And when it comes to fitness, I personally, and this might not be kind of shared, but I think this view might not be shared, but I think we should go with more the fitter players rather than the players that have necessarily got the quality. Because if you don't match Leeds for the tempo in the game, you're really, really going to struggle. So, we've mentioned Elanga. He's just he's a ball of energy, isn't he? All he does is run. So, and he's got quality as well, which is handy. So, when it comes to the Euros, the players that come back from the Euros, it is a little bit of a concern because, Varane's not going to be training till probably early next week at the earliest. And, I believe all the other players come back on Monday or around then. So this could be, the Preston game won't be massively detrimental to what happens. I'm just concerned about fitness of these players because they've been on holiday for 2 or 3 weeks. And can they maintain the top level whilst not training with the club? Saying that, they played a tournament. You can't knock them for it. They've got to play the tournament for their country, and they deserve a break. So, but it will come down to who the fittest is in that squad and whether they're able to play at least 70 or 80 minutes at the highest kind of tempo in the league. Because Leeds will. I guarantee you that Leeds will. They'll be more than up for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little bit worried about that. As you said, I'm pretty sure. I think you got that spot on. I'm pretty sure that Bielsa's got them playing murder ball for this game. You know, it's a big opening game for us this season, given the stature of the Manchester United Leeds United rivalry. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead to the comments. There's a few about Elanga. Elanga should stay and not go out on loan. Rashford and Martial are both injury prone. Elanga's shown that he can be part of the squad. He's going to play cup games and impress. He's got the spark. Yeah, I agree. He's got the spark. A few people saying Elanga's he's already scored more goals than Dan James' entire career. I don't think that's completely true, but you know, Ugly Bear saying Dan James not in the squad to score goals. I believe that's what he said. Yeah, he's in the squad to score goals. You know, I know what's this? Rio Valas just said about Rashford there. I know it's off topic, but are you worried that Rashford still hasn't made a decision? Are you worried, Henry, actually, on that Rashford's still not made a decision on his surgery? It doesn't seem that United and Marcus have come out and said anything about surgery yet. So the decision doesn't have.
Hugely. I'm worried about. We've got the Varane and Sancho deal done, and that is absolutely phenomenal. This is so unlike United. But there are little things, I'm not going to say going wrong, but little things that aren't quite going in our favour at this moment in time. We've got Pogba, who hasn't decided whether he's staying or leaving, clearly hasn't had clear conversations with the club. And then you've got Rashford, who hasn't decided, definitively whether he's having his surgery. And surgery is a big deal for a player. It is. It's a huge deal for a player. You've got to be mentally prepped for... you've got the recovery phase. If you're going to have the surgery he's having, you've got it won't be really long, but it'll be pretty intense, I would have thought. So I am worried about that, but it has to happen. I seriously think if he plays on throughout the season with this injury, we could be looking at a last season again with Rashford and be thinking, I really don't want to see a Michael Owen again. That's what I'm most worried about personally. I don't want to see that again. And at the moment, I'm seeing a spitting image of it, and I'm hoping in the next few weeks or a few days that's going to change, and he's just going to go surgery, get it done, like 95% fit, because no player's ever 100% fit, but 95% fit for a season. That's the critical part for me. But I'm massively worried about this and nervous for it. But I hope he makes the right call for himself. Be selfish. That's all I've got to say about the play. He's got to be selfish.
Absolutely. Andrew, on the Marcus Rashford thing, the thing about his operation, should he have called it earlier? Should United have come out and said, listen, we need to, and Ole in particular, come out and say, listen, we need Marcus, we want to protect his long-term future, we need to go and have his operations now? Or do you think they're right to wait off and see what's happening and see how he's rested up over the summer, see if that's helped him in any way? Because as Henry alluded to, we don't want another Michael Owen situation, and I remember ages ago, I think Rio Ferdinand saying that he was begging Marcus to pick up the phone and speak to Michael Owen, it'd even give Marcus Michael Owen's phone number, etc., etc. Do you think that Marcus needs, for his own good, just to say to Ole, just to turn around and say, "Listen, I need my operations"?
Yeah, from what I read, I heard Marcus actually wanted to have the operation like soon as, but it was the club that were being a bit more conservative. They were saying, "Well, look, we want to manage this. We want to do this with the physio and everything, see if we can." Like say, hopefully this injury will clear up itself, but it's clearly not going to. I think he should have the operation. I mean, as he said in his after the Euros when he posted that statement saying, "Oh, I hadn't been fit for 9 months." I'm like, well, the way you were playing, it was like, if that's, and he's playing pretty well, I'm thinking that's with you an injury. Imagine what you like when you've not been injured and you'll be in full form. So he needs to definitely have this operation, because I know it just put him back about 12 weeks. So if he was to have it now, I think it'd be like the start of November. He might be back, I believe. So yeah, I wouldn't want him to, as Henry said, to turn in another Michael Owen. I mean, from Michael Owen, when he got his first injury, I think he pulled his groin or thigh, and then he was never quite the same, but he'd lost that, was losing that bit of yard of pace. And I thinking, was it a documentary just on his career? He said, "Oh, I was overplayed in the beginning," and he said, "If I'd have been under like Sir Alex at the start of my career, I might have had a bit more of a longer career because better managing the players." Literally, Liverpool threw him in, and then literally he was at a World Cup, and then it was just like playing him every other game, and then he just say after he left the borders Real Madrid, and then he just sort of went downhill with like the bad injuries he had. So I hope Marcus gets this operation done, and then he can come back and then help us hopefully with a title charge, and then can have many more seasons of scoring many more goals for us as well.
I'm going to quickly liken him to a car tire. This is terrible. I'm going to quickly liken him to a car tire. If you get a puncture on a car tire and you put a cover over it, like a patch or something, and you keep driving it and you think, okay, this is doing all right. At some point, it's going to go bang and it's just going to explode because it's a temporary fix. You can't keep having these temporary rests and stuff and expect a player to get back to his full potential. You know, Marcus Rashford's had, I mean, he play one substitute appearance in the Euros or something, you know, or two or whatever from the penalty as well.
Was it 2 including the final?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm sure he came on against Ukraine. I remember that.
Yeah, and then right back for part of the final. So, so the worry is that you keep patching these things up and you keep, probably giving him injections or whatever. And you keep thinking, okay, yeah, it's going okay. At some point, it's going to go. These the shoulder and I know his ankle is apparently he's got a floating bone in it. I'm not sure whether that's true or speculation. But if you keep patching these things up, at some point, something's going to go horribly wrong. And the club, Ollie's saying we need to do what's best for the club and best for the player. The player should be first and foremost in their thoughts, not the club. Sorry, sounds selfish, but forget it. Not the club. The player comes first because at the end of the day, this is he's got probably a 12 or 13 years left in his career, and you're looking at something that could destroy the rest of his career if he doesn't have it done, as soon as possible. So fix the solution, deal with it for a couple of months. It might not be fantastic not having him there, but you've just brought in one of the best talents in the world. You haven't brought in another Dan James. You've just brought in one of the best talents in the world. So I'm sure Solskjaer can cover for Rashford for 2 or 3 months if he needs this recovery. But it has to happen now because I'm honestly fearing for him the way that the club have kind of treated him in the last few months. He's been playing through injury after injury, and it's like you just can't keep doing that with a player because, there's so many stories of it going horribly wrong, and it just never ends well.
Absolutely. Want to move it on now to last night's performances. Andrew, I know you was there at the game. As always, pal. What did you make of it last night? I know people are jumping and saying, "Oh, he's only won one game in pre-season so far. We've drawn one and we lost one in his 3 games so far on in." And some people are already putting him under pressure, saying it's not good enough. But surely pre-season is about getting minutes into the legs, freshness into lungs. What did you make of last night? I thought it was actually a pretty decent game.
Yeah, so we started well. We was controlling the game. I mean, so Elanga was great, and that goal he scored, and even Wan-Bissaka it seemed like his attacking ability is just coming along now. I mean, there was a certain radio station that was there criticising Wan-Bissaka I think it was the other morning, saying he can't defend, he can't do this. I'm like, really? I was like, Wan-Bissaka is one of the best defenders, and plus the attacking side of it, I think will develop even more now that Sancho, if he's going to be playing on the right hand side, them two can overlap each other. So it was control. What I was impressed with is Matic's hard work as well. He was just sitting there as the holding midfielder and just scouring from left to right to cut out any of the opposition passes or presses. To be fair to Brentford, they did take their chances when they had their moments, and they did have a few other moments where they could have before like half time. I remember one of the Brentford players whipped the ball into our box, and then Ivan Toney was literally just running along. I thought if he'd have been there a second or two more, he'd have just got onto the end of that and put them 2-1 up. So I think for Brentford, I think in the Premier League, when they do get their moments, if they take them, they should stay up. So, but if not, they're going to have like a torrid time and they'll be going down again. So yeah, Jesse impressed me. Say Dan James, who came on, I just thought he didn't do as much from what I saw as well. And I know the subject that he might be moving on from, according to reports, with interest from like Leeds as well, and say just failed to provide anything of a note. I know he can be useful as a squad player, but I think when you've got the likes of Elanga coming through, I think he'll be ahead of him now. So obviously there's the pre-season Pirlo back as well with Andreas Pereira. Like, he only seems to turn up in pre-season, so you just get frustrated with Pereira. It's just like, why can't you replicate that in competitive matches? I mean, in the previous 2 games of QPR and Derby, I was like, I just saw nothing from him. I just felt like in this game, it was like, well, you're back. I mean, but I don't know whether that was because I thought, you might have took him off at half time, but if he had, he wouldn't have scored that wonder goal that we all saw. But maybe that was Ollie's key to say, putting him in the shop window for like, well, does anybody fancy taking him off our hands and try and get a fee for him? So but also it was just great to be back inside Old Trafford again. It's just like been so long. I mean, I was lucky enough to be there for the Fulham game, but there was nothing really riding on that Fulham game. We'd already secured Champions League football, but it's nice that when the United players were on the attack, we was all urging them on to get that goal. So it's just, I can't wait for next week at Everton, and then August the 14th, please, where we're all hopefully should all be back inside the stadium.
Ugly Badge posted this comment. Louis Van Prince in the USA, we battered Real Liverpool and a few others, thinking we're going to winning the league title. But we lost the first few games of the Premier League. It doesn't matter if you win. Yeah, it doesn't matter really. And it's all about getting the old lungs, air into the lungs and freshness into the legs. And let's be fair, QPR, you was there, Andrew, as well, wouldn't you? QPR, that they looked a lot fitter, a lot fresher. I know they're a week before the Premier League, so there was a couple of matches ahead of us in terms of preparation for their league. So you could definitely tell there was a much fresher side and had the old speed in the legs again. They was up to match day speed near enough, given that their season's only now they're less than a week away, really, isn't it now for them? But I don't know, Henry, if you saw any of the match last night, but as Andrew alluded to, Andreas Pereira turned into a bit of a Pirlo last night, especially for his goal. I'm sure you would have seen it. It's been clipped up many times on social media. And let's be fair to the guy, when he does score goals, he scores absolute bangers. But is it enough to keep him around for another season at Manchester United, or should we be looking to move him on absolutely for definite?
Well, when I watched a little bit of the game and then I watched the highlights after and whatever, and I was thinking, I'm actually quite liking this. And there's one specific reason why. When you score a worldie like that, that's at least $2.5 million onto his price tag. That's more money for us to spend in a budget for the rest of the transfer window. Need a right back, need a CDM. We can push that barrier a little bit higher up. Because, I mean, when he scores worldies. And I don't know what the management staff are doing to him in pre-season. Seriously, are they injecting him with some sort of steroids or whatever and just push him out on the pitch? Because he's just a world-class player in pre-seasons for some odd reason. We have no idea why. Maybe it's because the pressure's off or whatever. I have no idea. But, just if Lazio want him back, sit Sarri down with one of our representatives and just play a highlight reel of Pereira's goals. It might only be 4, but they are 4 world-class goals, and I don't care. And they'll go, right, okay, price tag. I don't think we should keep him. I made the mistake of falling into that trap a couple of years ago when I thought this could be his breakthrough season. I think it was after his half season at Valencia and half season at Granada. I was thinking, you know what? This guy's actually a decent baller. We don't notoriously spend loads of money on on either defensive or transition midfielders, apart from Pogba, and we're not forking out 50 million per player as namely City and Chelsea do. So we don't keep doing that. So we churn through players from a youth, and I was thinking, yeah, why not? And what a mistake that was. He's just not a very talented top footballer. Let's be honest. So maybe the best idea is to, I don't like this loan with option to buy stuff, because if he doesn't have a good loan, you don't get the money. Simple as that. So if you have to negotiate the price and it's a few million lower just to get him a permanent move out the door, do it, because at the end of the day, that goes into your budget for what we need for the rest of the season. So yeah, I mean, there's some players that need to go, and Pereira is one of them. Props to him for that goal, by the way, though. What a finish. I mean, you rarely see that at Old Trafford. It's a rarity that someone scores a goal of that caliber. I mean, it's only pre-season, but who cares? What a goal. So, yeah, hopefully that's knocked his price tag up a little bit. I'm not sure it will, but I don't care. It's good for him. He seems happy. So ship him out and get a better player in, respectfully.
No, yeah, I was saying at Brentford we should have been 5-1 at a half time. It was an entertaining game. Elanga, Pereira were lively. Even Matic. To be fair, I thought Matic had a really good game, to be honest with you. But Brentford, even they scored an absolute banger as well. Hit the underside of the bar as well. So it was just like all 4 goals were really, really good. Elanga's was quality as well. Just his movement off the ball really impressed me. Going back to Elanga, I know we touched upon him earlier on the show, Andrew. He looks a little bit sharper than Mason Greenwood at the minute. I know Mason's just come back from an operation as well himself, and I think Mason's still trying to find his feet a little bit more. But how pleased is it to see Elanga sort of stepping up now and giving Ole a bit of not I wouldn't say a headache, but a nice choice up there. He's the fresher guy. He's got the right mentality, because some of the runs off the ball were quality. He was running into the channels as well, giving options, trying to stretch the play. Going forward, if Mason's not quite 100% fit, and then obviously Carfick put it out earlier that he wouldn't mind Elanga starting against Leeds United. How impressed were you with Elanga last night? And was there any other players that caught your eye?
So yeah, I was impressed by Elanga, like his movement and also the goal he scored from. I mean, the technique, and also the crowded opposition players around him to strike that ball from that angle was like. And obviously, props to Wan-Bissaka for delivering the ball into the box for him. So yes, I would say Elanga's slightly ahead of Greenwood at the moment. I mean, Greenwood's, like you say, he was putting the work in. He was dropping there deep. He was switching flanks as well. So he's literally making runs as well, rather than staying static in one place. But it just looks like Greenwood's confidence at the moment. I think he just needs a goal, and then he'll be. I think his confidence will shoot up. I mean, like last season, he had that dip in form. He then worked his way back into the team. He was doing all the hard work, and then it was like, well, I'm not scoring at the end. And then when he did get his goal, he was like, oh, there's the first one, and then started to score even more. So, just obviously we got Cavani and Martial being back soon. It's just, I'm just thinking, has Greenwood done enough to hold down a spot yet? One goal can change that for Greenwood. So, but. Obviously, it would have been, say, wanting to impress on the Saturday against Preston, but he'll have to do it against Everton now. I'm just trying to think who else impressed me during the last night's game. I'll say, from briefly what I saw of him, Palestri, he looked good on the ball as well. He was like getting down the flanks. Him and Wan-Bissaka were linking up, and there's a few times Palestri was trying to get the balls into the box and trying to create some chances for us. So, but yeah, those are the other player I could think of that caught my eye as well during the second half.
Absolutely. I know, Henry, you only watched the brief part of the game and some highlights, but was there any standout players for you in what bits of the game that you saw last night?
in terms of consistency over pre-season, I really like Tom Heaton. Actually, I'm not going to lie, I really like him.
Yeah.
I think this in terms of experienced goalkeepers that you want at the club. I mean, he's been pretty good over the last few years when he's been at Villa and Burnley. So, I mean, what a decision to make in terms of you've now got Henderson, De Gea, and Heaton. And as Tom Heaton said when he came into the club, he's not there to make up the numbers. He's there to push for that number one place. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but I'm also thinking, damn, this guy, he really wants it. Just by the looks of the way he is and his attitude and professionalism, it's a prime example of what you want. And then Wan-Bissaka again getting an assist is always really handy. I think Charlie Austin, well, what a prick, to put it politely. Respectfully, I mean, I know he plays for QPR, and I know they played against Wan-Bissaka, and he's saying, not that great, whatever. You got dumped from the Premier League, pal. You got dumped from the Premier League when a striker's supposed to be in his prime. So, and now you're on talk shite, chatting bollocks about other players that are way above your station. So, my advice to him, just stay in your lane, really, because you're not at that level. You're not that guy. So, Wan-Bissaka, really good. There's still a little bit of positionally. He's a little bit kind of he's like a lazy fly when you smack it with a tea towel. The one that's kind of doping around all over the table and it's trying to fly but it can't. He's just a bit kind of like he looks a bit kind of dizzy when he's in the box when he's kind of defending the cross. So something's got to be changed about that, I think. Hopefully Eric Ramsey, coming in and being a set piece specialist coach, hopefully you can, sort him out in terms of positioning, not just from crosses, but from corners and from free kicks. And, because again, that's the one aspect of his game that is the most worrying for me. Great at tackling. He's proving that he's better and better going forward by the month, really, I'd say. But yeah, his positioning is. I mean, I don't understand, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but what is it about a right back that has to go and play next to a centre back that gravitates towards a centre back? Like, is that a thing that you're supposed to do as a right back? I never played as a right back, but I don't think that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you're not supposed to gravitate and cut inside. And when a cross is coming in the far post, he always seems to be straight away on the back foot, almost a bit unaware of his surroundings. So, but again, I can't knock him for the Brentford game. He seemed all right from what I saw. And again, over pre-season, Pellistri, he will go out on loan. And I'm happy for him to go out on loan. But again, it's a really nice headache to have for Solskjaer because he's got another direct attacker who's willing to just run at people. What is more terrifying as a defender than someone that just basically just gets the ball and starts running straight at you? You're like, what do I do? What do I do? Do I trip him up or do I? He's a good player, and I'm glad we got him for the price we did. He's proven to be, definitely one for the future. So from this part of the country down in Devon, happy days. I'm delighted.
I was going to say, if we can just add on Tom Heaton, I think one thing I noticed last night during the game was how commanding he was. He was like constantly shouting, like, stay up, keeping the positions. I was like, you don't necessarily get that much with De Gea. He's like more of a quiet goalkeeper. I mean, I've heard him shout on the odd occasions. I mean, Dean Henderson will do the set. Let's say will be commanding as well, but I'm not seeing enough of that yet. But Tom Heaton's, like, as you said, Henry, he's not coming here to just be the number 3. He wants to play for United. So, but it's an interesting choice, Riley, who he's going to decide to play against Leeds, whether it's going to be De Gea, Henderson or Heaton. So I've got a feeling Holly will play De Gea. I don't know whether there's still a slight question mark over Henderson, whether he's going to put the trust in him to lead, be the number 1 goalkeeper, whether I just feel like he might just choose De Gea and see how he starts, and then if God forbid if De Gea made a mistake, then it's Henderson in, and then if he made a mistake, then it'd be Heaton. So we just need to sort of settle this goalkeeping situation once and for all, whether De Gea moves on or it's Henderson and then Heaton is the backup.
You're spot on there as well. You're spot on there because when I was younger, I was trained as a keeper and I had some coaching from kind of academy coaches. And the one thing they said to me is, you can be absolutely shit at everything, but if you're really good at talking, you'll make it in the game. Genuinely, that's what they said to me. You can be average at catching, average at shot stopping, average at kicking, but if you're able to talk and command your area as a keeper, you can go further than the people that have got natural ability, because talking as a keeper, it puts you at ease as a defender. You know, you don't have to look over your shoulder all the time. You've got communication straight away. So you're absolutely spot on. And that comes with experience as well, which is so handy. I know we've got Lee Grant there who turned into Lev Yashin when he played for Stoke for like half a season. But we've got experienced keepers now. De Gea's experienced, Heaton's experienced. And I'm maybe thinking, maybe that will help Henderson just a little bit. Maybe that'll help him with the rest of his game, because he's got these keepers around him that have all played at the top level, that have all been consistent throughout their careers at the top level. Is that going to be helpful for the future? And seeing Heaton in pre-season again, I haven't watched all the games, but seeing what I've seen of him, I'm happy with him. I think that's a really smart signing. Going to make a claim that it might actually be the best in terms of signings, bar Varane, because the Sancho deal was going to happen one way or another. Yeah. But in terms of out of the blue and bringing in, I know Romero will go, and whether one of Henderson or De Gea will go, I don't know. But the smart signing, because if both of those, as you mentioned, Andrew, make a mistake, Henderson and De Gea, you can fall back on a keeper that's been in the Premier League for the last 10 years. I mean, no one's going to complain at that. He's a quality keeper. So again, he's got a headache in the goalkeeping position because Heaton's fit and ready, and he'll be knocking on the door saying, "Hold on a minute, why am I not starting? I'm proving that I'm good enough." So again, it's another great headache which we haven't had over the last few years to have.
So liking Heaton probably a bit like Peter Schmeichel. He could talk. Peter Schmeichel, he could literally argue, talk at the defenders or any of the other players. And obviously Schmeichel was a great goalkeeper as well, but Heaton was just very commanding. I'm glad he played the 90 minutes. I just thought at half-time he's going to bring on Lee Grant, and I thought, please don't. Nothing against Lee Grant, but I wanted Heaton to get the full 90 minutes. I think it was only Heaton and Wan-Bissaka complete the full 90 minutes. I don't think any... Oh, hang on. Tuanzebe and Mengi play the full 90 minutes?
Yeah. Tuanzebe, didn't he get taken off for the low?
Yes.
Or was that?
I know Heaton and Wan-Bissaka completed I just remember seeing them at the end. And I thought, well, they've done the full 90 minutes, but it might be Mengi, might have been the other one. But I can't remember.
It's all progress, though, isn't it? It's all progress, and this is important. I know people say it's only pre-season. No, it's not. It's actually quite important for players that are going out on loan and the players that are going to be in the squad. It's saying to the manager, look at me. Forget all the other ones that are on international duty. Have a look at me and see how good I am. Am I going to be Elanga? He might be part of the squad now. He wouldn't have been anywhere near in contention before pre-season. So again, it's a great headache to have, and I don't think I've ever been more happy after watching a pre-season game, because it's this is good. I like it. I like it a lot.
Ugly Bear asking, do we still have Romero on the books? No, he actually left. He's no longer on the books. No, he's definitely gone now. I like this one though. Carrius was good talk about a butter thing as well. He was Carrius when he. My next question, just to round off the goalkeeper situation. My next question to both of you is with Dean Henderson obviously still getting over his hip operation and his hip injury. He's obviously not played any part of pre-season thus far. David's still away because obviously he was part of the Spanish squad in the Euros. I actually expected David De Gea to come back a little bit sooner, to be honest with you, but because he didn't hardly play for Spain. But he's having a bit of family time away with his newborn and what have you. But who starts as number one against Leeds, though? Because you two are perfectly bang on about Tom Heaton, and I wouldn't be against Tom Heaton starting against Leeds United. I like his communication, and Dean Henderson is exactly the same. It must be an old English goalkeeper mentality where you keep yabbering on. Because I've sat behind Dean Henderson when I watched him play for Sheffield United one game. I went to watch because I've got mates that live in Sheffield because I used to live in Sheffield as well while my missus was at uni like there. I went to one of their games back in the Championship days when Dean was there. And, all you could hear was Dean Henderson totally gobbing off at his defenders all the time, talking to them, encouraging them. And that's exactly what Andrew said last night is that I sit in the east stand behind the goal, and all you can hear is Heaton talking, get out, push up, talking to his back line, trying to get his midfielders' attention and what have you. And I like Ugly Bear says Lee Grant was at fault for some of the QPR goals. I think Lee Grant was about 10 minutes too late getting down to some of them shots. But I'll come back to the point now. Would any of you, or either of you, but I don't think it will matter too much, would either of you have any gripes if Heaton started as first choice into the first game? Henry, I'll start with you, pal.
No, I want him to start, actually. I kind of want him to start. It's just based on, again, it's based on the fitness side of things. You've got plenty of game time. De Gea is, oh my God. I like him. I like him a lot. Great shot stopper. Really handy when it comes to pressure situations, apart from when the ball's coming straight at him, which seems to be a bit of a worry for him for some reason. But I would start Heaton. De Gea hasn't played any football apart from, I think it was one pre-tournament game. Unai Simon was picked over him, and I'm not being melodramatic when I say Unai Simon is a bit crap, really, isn't he? The mistake he made was it against Croatia? I think the back pass that he let under his foot, and I'm thinking, oh my word, this guy is useless. He is just useless. So he couldn't hack it in the Spain team. And if Henderson's overcoming an injury, what's to say Heaton shouldn't start? Again, it all comes back to experience, and Heaton will be a handy person to have, even if you've got a couple of youngsters in the starting 11. As you guys mentioned, you almost get bored of him talking. Like you can just be able to hear him the whole game. And I was always taught when I was younger that the players, when they come off, the 10 in front of you should want to smack you after that game because they'll be so bored of you shouting at them or talking or, being critical or being constructive. It doesn't matter. They should be absolutely bored of you talking. They don't want to see you for like 3 or 4 days. So, it's again, I'd start him. I would. And I know it's a bit controversial because we've got 2 quality keepers, but again, one hasn't played and one's overcoming an injury. So both of those lack of match fitness, really risky business. Especially if you're a keeper or a defender, because that's a problem. Seriously, that is a problem because a mistake from a keeper or a defender is goal. So and especially against the quality of Leeds, I'd start him and see what happens.
Andrew, mate, what do you feel? I would say Tom Heaton stay at Leeds, or do you think David De Gea or Dean Henderson will come in for that one?
So, with Henderson, if he's still recovering from his injury, then I don't expect him to make it. It's the choice between De Gea and Heaton. If he did start Heaton, I wouldn't be disappointed by that because he's got the Premier League experience. But I just think, yes, De Gea hasn't played in any of the pre-season games. Well, you never know. He might be the one for Everton. Who knows? He might be Heaton again. But I just think he might just start De Gea and just give him his chance to, impress as well. But it's a tough one. It's like we've got three good goalkeepers and they're all vying for that one position. It's a good headache to have. It was like the times seasons past we were relying on De Gea to get us out of the things or save us points or gain us points in games, and he has done that for us, and we have to give him credit. Over the years he has done well for us. Okay, in the last few seasons he's dropped a few clangers and we've ended up drawing games or losing games, but in those games, some of those goals were his fault, but you could also argue the defence was at fault for some of the goals we've conceded in games that we've ended up losing. So I wish Ollie had made the decision on this goalkeeping situation, like who's going to be the number one. It's sort of the end of last season. When De Gea went away because of his newborn, then Henderson was given the chance, and then I think towards the end of the season, De Gea come back in. So Ollie was says, "Well, I've got two good goalkeepers." So it's but two of them are not going to want to sit on the bench all the time. One of them's going to want, I want to go and play somewhere else. I want to get game time. As Fergie once said to the older players, go and get all the game time you can, because your career, it can be as long or as short as it can be. So it's just but no, I think he'll start De Gea. I think, but you never know. Ollie might throw a surprise at us all, and just it's Heaton if he doesn't think De Gea is match ready, or Henderson's just not recovered in time with his injury as well.
Benny, there's a comment from Fred Woodward there, but about the logic starting the class. Yeah, starting the players going forward. I will make one point, and it's obviously opinion, so it's neither. It could be right or wrong. You make your judgment, but I think attacking players can get away with a little bit of a lack of match fitness, but I think defenders and goalkeepers, a lack of match fitness is bad news. It really is, and I'm not. With the players that have been at the Euros, you've got players that have played recently. David De Gea hasn't. He just hasn't. He hasn't played Premier League, and he hasn't played. He hasn't played the Euros, and he might play one preseason game and then look really good, and then my mind might shift. But at the moment, he hasn't played any preseason, and it only takes one slight lapse in concentration as a keeper, and you've conceded a goal. It's as simple as that, or as a defender, and you've shipped a goal. It's such a difficult position, those positions to play, because you're relying on concentration. It's like almost 70% concentration, because if you make one slight lapse in judgment, you're in big trouble. So I would just allude to you mentioned his mistakes, and we're persisting with him because of his history and how good he's been in recent seasons. But I think we've got to start looking towards the future now. And I think that if you keep putting him in the team, you'll get the idea that he's going to be over Henderson for the next a couple of years. So if you keep putting him in the team, as you said, you've got to make Andrew, you mentioned making a definitive decision for number one. And Ollie has got to do that soon. It's got to be, right, you are number one, you're number two, and you're number three. It's as simple as that. And I think Henderson's going to get that number one spot, not because of necessarily ability and quality now, but longevity. And De Gea he's got another 3 or 4 years, maybe at the top level, maybe a little bit more. Henderson, he's 25? He's probably got another 10 years at the top level. So I just think it might come down to match fitness, and but again, it depends on the manager. So I'll be excited either way.
I was just going to say about De Gea, something I was reading the other day about De Gea, saying some members of the board were just the contract they gave him, when he was, last time he was running it was a year to go, and he wanted to have more wages, because I think it's on 375,000 a week. So
he's a highest paid player, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just at the time some board members well, we wish well, we was wanting to give him the contract. We just didn't want to give him that much a week. It's just at that time we had Alexis Sanchez and his wages. Just every player at our club went, oh well, if he's on that, well, why can't we have this? And someone like now going, well, we sort of made a rod for our own back. So
huge mistake.
Huge mistake. If De Gea was to move on, obviously that part of those wages could be used on, well, getting another player in if he was to leave as well, and say we could, or freeing up wages to give, other players new contracts as well.
But we moan about Chelsea and City, but none of their players are on those kind of wages. I don't think. We can moan about them, but their board decisions they make, they don't cause them problems in the future. So, and this is, is he could just stand there and go, I'm running down my contract. Don't care. Yeah. I'll take the money. Happy days. Because he's not going to earn that elsewhere, apart from maybe in China, a push.
Or PSG, maybe.
PSG got Donnarumma now, and
I forgot that.
it's one of those where all the top clubs have got keepers now. They've all got quality keepers that are going to last for the future. So, we've made a huge error there. Like, I know it was a few years ago, and I know it will be a continuing saga, because the sole reason we can't offload him is because of his wages. Even if we said to someone, take him for 5 million, they'd go, no, because he's asking for 300k a week and we're not going to pay him that. So, again, I was
going to say, unlike Paul Pogba as well, I'm just thinking, well, whether he signs a new contract or not. I'm sure if he wants to sign, he'll want, to be the highest paid player at the club. And that'll probably be like 400 grand a week. So that's going to, if that was United did offer that and he does sign it, but I just don't want that to cause some disharmony amongst the other players. Like I think he did with Sanchez. Like, well, he's getting offered all this. Well, my wages increased. I want a longer contract as well.
Yes, it's dangerous. That's all I'm going to say. It's dangerous.
Yes.
Absolutely is. We could talk about goalkeepers all day long. In fact, I might do a show all about the goalkeepers in the coming week or two. I think it's a fantastic show because it opens up fantastic debate. But I do, before we want to squeeze in the last subject of the night, and that's about the introduction of a COVID passport to get into events that the government want to introduce by late September or for the 1st of October. Any crowd over 20,000, which would be most of all the Premier League stadiums anyway, to have a COVID passport to prove that you're double jabbed or your lateral flow test results to gain entry to football stadiums. Well, the Premier League are looking to start that from the get-go. So from the first game of the season, which for us is the Leeds United game. And obviously there's a test event that's going to happen not this weekend, next weekend, on the 7th between Arsenal and Spurs at Tottenham's new ground. They're having this COVID passport tested, to see if that's feasible for the Premier League, to see to get it out off the get-go. And some of the feedback that I've seen online is that this COVID passport isn't working yet properly. They've had all this time to really set it up, and people are struggling to get it working. And this is from Spurs fans and that are, because obviously it's the test event. So I've seen some on the old hashtags when you go on the what was trending around the UK. I've seen that this COVID pass is not working at the minute. This COVID passport thing that they want to bring in. My main question though is, would it put you going off to live football matches? Henry, would something like produce the COVID passport to prove that you're double jabbed, or to prove your lateral flow test results to gain entry to the football into a football stadium? Would it put you off going, pal?
Well, I think my biggest issue at the moment is I haven't had my second jab. I haven't had my second COVID jab. I had my first one, but younger people are kind of disadvantaged in this a little bit because the COVID tests aren't really nice to take because you have basically a rod shoved up your nose, which isn't very nice, and it scratches your brain. It feels like. So I don't know. I can see both sides of the coin on this. I really can. I can see the people that don't don't want to have the vaccine and the people that are not happy with taking flow tests and feel that it should be a free-for-all. Completely understand that. But at the same time, I'm a little bit thinking, I think it might be a good idea, just based on the fact that, you'll know everyone's been vaccinated, so they're less at risk. You can still catch the virus when you got the vaccine, but it just doesn't have the effects that it does when you don't have the vaccine. So, yeah, I don't know. This is such a tough thing to say because some people can't have it because of medical exemptions, which is completely understandable and fair enough. And some people have beliefs or morals or whatever it is that gets in the way, and I completely understand that as well. So I think enforcing that is tough. I genuinely do. And I think at what stage does it become, forced? Because you can say you can have the vaccine or not, but if you shut off everything to the people that haven't had it, are we ever going to open up properly? I don't know. So I think it's a risky thing to get into in terms of forcing people to have these the vaccine passports. But then again, if you're PCR tested and it's negative, I did that before I went into Silverstone, and from what I know, the event was a success. Although I got burnt to shit because it was really hot, but the event was a big success, and there were 140,000 people there. So it's one of those. It's a case of opinion, and I'm Mr. Switzerland right now. I'm just gonna have to sit on the fence on this one because I genuinely don't know. Half my brain's telling me one thing, the other half is telling me another. So I'm pro both. Why not? Whatever happens, I'll just have to accept it, and we'll see.
From what I understand, if people can't medically have it, because I know a couple of friends that can't medically have the vaccines, that I think there's a way of proving it on a COVID passport or something, and then you just got to show that and you'll be all right. I don't know 100% how this COVID passport is going to work properly. There's not a lot of information out there about it, I don't think, from what I've seen. Someone may correct me, there might be an absolute army of information, but I'm not seeing too much information about how it would work. And I know people, as I said before, are struggling to get this app to even work. So, which you would have thought the government have had all this time. They wanted to push it and push it and push it, and they're still not got it to work. But, Andrew, would it put you off going to a football game, having to, keep producing this? Because obviously everything's on your mobile now. You've got your tickets on your mobile. You can have this COVID pass on your mobile. Would it be too much of a faff? Is it too much of a? Are we asking match-going fans to provide too much information? You can see it now. I can see it now at Old Trafford. For those of you who've been, will know that you've got about 3 rows of security before you get to your turnstile. So. Yesterday, each wall of security that I went past, seeing my ticket. Do you imagine showing your COVID passport and your match ticket on 3 separate occasions before you get to the turnstile, and then when you get to the turnstile, you have to show your match ticket and possibly this COVID passport again? Do you think it's just too much of a faff, mate? Or do you think there's an easier way around it? Like we've been to friendlies and we've not been even asked to provide. Lateral flow test results, which I thought would have been, the absolute bare minimum, but we've not even, so why all of a sudden now should we then, for the start of the Premier League season, be doing a COVID passport? What's your take on it all, mate?
So it wouldn't put me off going to the games. I mean, like these COVID passport, and like when they were developing the vaccines, I thought anything that can get us back soon into the grounds, the better. But I get it's freedom of choice whether you want the vaccine or not. I know somebody I work with at the moment, they chose not to have it, but then the government announced saying concert or large events over 20,000, you're going to have these passports or the vaccines. And the person I work with now has gone and had their first jab because, well, they want to go and see a concert hopefully next year if we're not in another lockdown or something else worse happens. But yeah, it's, for me, it doesn't put me off. I'd say you said you went through 3 lots of security I say I was lucky. I only had the one set of security, but I had, like you, I had to show my because I literally had everything in my hands. You know, they do this the scan. They use those scanners to make sure you're not got anything on you that you shouldn't. And I was like, so I had everything in my hand and said, "Oh, I would just need to see your ticket." So I was like scrambling my hand, trying to open my mobile and show them, "Here's my digital ticket." So it can. I know we got the you can print them out at home as well, but it's I just say. I mean, say in favour of these the passports. I know from what I've read about them, I think it's on like if you have the NHS app. I think it's just literally it's a QR code that shows you. You just say, "Oh, COVID certification." It'll just say, "Oh, here's the QR code," and I don't know whether you might have to scan it against something, and then it'll just prove that. I mean, like for yesterday's game, I did a lateral flow test before the game. I just wanted to be sure. I didn't want to be. Coming to find out I've got COVID, and then because I wouldn't want to be one spreading it around, and then as well. So it's like Henry said, it's freedom of choice, but I feel like the government are using it as a backhanded way for everyone to get the vaccine. So, but it should be down to individual choice on this matter. But it's. Yeah,
I know United did text out, didn't they, that they recommend everybody take a lateral flow test 48 hours before the actual match. But I received a text message about 48 hours before the actual match, so I don't know if you received text messages yourself, Andrew. But I got one just saying, can you take a lateral flow test? But of course, nobody's asked for any results or anything. So
for Silverstone, Benny, for Silverstone, it was so simple and easy. Genuinely, the instructions that they laid out was lateral flow test 48 hours before, then 24 hours before, just to prove that you haven't got the virus. All you had to do was take your phone and show the text that said the 24 hours, the most recent one, that you had a negative result, show your ticket and go in. And I think it was the first massive test event since they've reopened everything. Yeah. And someone in my family was going in. There was a girl behind her, and they showed a test that was from like they had a weekend ticket and weekday and weekend, so they were there from the Wednesday. They showed a test result from the Wednesday, and they turned this girl away and said, "You can't come in. I'm sorry, like you haven't proved that you had a negative test. That's not good enough. That's too long ago." So I think they're trying to make this as quick as possible, and it was one level of security. Again, dangerous, I guess, because it's 140,000 people if you got one level of security. But check your bag, check your test result, ticket, and go in. It took about a minute. So I think in terms of timings, I think you're right to question it, because the government have made an absolute. It's been a bit of a shit show when it comes to the app and whatever, and showing results. But I think if they can get it quick, I just think it won't won't be a big issue, even if it is just showing a negative test result on your phone. And again, I think it's good because it just shows that you've not got anyone who's going to spread the virus that goes into the stadium, that is going to create a massive wave of, like, one person gets infected, you probably got 1,000 people, and then it spreads as the virus does. So, it's one of those where I think it might be helpful just and for peace of mind as well, because you come out, and I came out and then did a test again because you're supposed to, and report it, and it came back negative, and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm ready to go to Old Trafford. Now I'm ready to go into a big event, because I know that I went in there, everyone was negative tested. I didn't get it, even though I was walking through thousands of people. I didn't get the virus. I'm okay. It's a peace of mind thing where you go in, you think, okay, that's good. They're doing the right thing. So I think it will come. You're right. I think it will come down to timing issues, whether they can get it done in a quick amount of time where you don't have to go through 3 or 4 layers of security. The one layer, show your pass or your negative test, and go into the ground, and they'll have to perfect it, because if they don't, people will be up in arms, and then it will start to change. So, but again, it's as Andrew mentioned, it's personal decisions, and it shouldn't be forced on anyone. But again, it's such a difficult topic to approach. It really is, because you go into all kinds of side alleys about this kind of stuff. But it needs to be had, I guess.
Absolutely. I know Ugly Bears in the comments said he will not take he's not taking the vaccine. That's totally people's choices. It's not a mandatory thing to have, but although I think, as you've mentioned earlier, the government are trying to push it that way. It's still not a mandatory thing to have. And I still think that surely if you could provide a lateral flow test, are you negative, like you did at Silverstone, that you could gain entry to a football ground anyway. Yeah. I think it's for those that have been double jabbed. My second jab's on the 2nd of August, so it's on Monday, the 2nd of August. So I'll be double jabbed at least before the Premier League season starts. And I think it's just a quicker way to show you're double jabbed. That's all right. You go in. As you said, though, it doesn't stop people from getting it, but hopefully, that it just gives people a little bit more of a sense that they're a little bit more safe for knowing that people have been asked to prove that they're double jabbed and or an actual flow test. My main issue with it all is hopefully it's not going to put off the next generation going to football matches, because obviously there's certain age groups that have not been vaccinated yet or have only just had the first vaccine and that. So hoping it doesn't put them off coming, and the government also doesn't stop them coming, and the Premier League don't stop them coming, because it's all about the next generation. It's like my son's only 7; he's not had the jab or anything. It shouldn't stop him from going to a football match at all either. So I'm just hoping it runs as smooth and it doesn't become a dictatorship where, you must have this to go to this and you must do this to go to that, because I think you're giving people. You're not letting people have their freedom of choice. So, I suppose we shall see. Wait. Sorry, Henry.
You're spot on. You're absolutely 100% spot on in terms of the next generation. You really are, because I think it hasn't quite dawned on me until recently that this COVID thing, this isn't a year or two solution thing. It's going to be around for a while, because again, variants after variants. And you're right. I just hope it doesn't deter people from going to big events. I was absolutely shitting it before Silverstone. Honestly, absolutely shitting it, because I'm thinking, I really don't want to get this. I really don't want to get it. But again, it's this is going to be around for a long time. So the sooner we find out a way, whether it's I hope it's not vaccine passports. I hope they find another way to do it in a more effective way for. If people haven't had the vaccine, a more effective way, because this is going to be around for a long time. It could be around for the rest of our lifetimes. You just don't know with these sort of things. So, and you're right. It is a generational thing, and we've got to look out for the future, not just the present. And I hope they make the right call. I don't have 100% faith in the government at the moment, because I saw Boris yesterday fail to put up an umbrella, which was always helpful as a prime minister who can't put up his own fucking umbrella, and offering it to someone else, probably to help him put it up because he's too useless at doing it. But I don't have 100% faith. But again, we've been dealt a hand, and I guess we've got to deal with it. So, it's interesting next month, I'd say, as to what they do. The Premier League should have authority over their league. They should have authority to do what, the government should say, over to you guys, what do you say? And they say, blah, blah, because again, it's the FA and the Premier League's decision, I guess.
Just to end it, boys. I know the EFL are looking at introducing the same thing as well, even though theirs is under 20,000, a lot of their grounds. Of course, there is the odd couple which are over 20,000, but I think the EFL are looking, and I think they're waiting to see how this test event goes at the new Tottenham Hotspur ground, on the 7th of August. But I've got a feeling this could filter all its way down through the different pyramids of English football. You'll see it in the Championship, League 1, League 2, the women's game, especially in the professional game. I think you'll probably see where you have to, maybe not straight away, but eventually where you have to show proof of a double vaccination or of definitely a lateral flow test result. I'm just going to ask you both this. Do you think it's right that it should filter its way down the English football pyramid, or should it just be for the Premier League because of the vast amount of crowds and the big stadiums that the league has?
Who wants to go first?
Andrew, I'll come to you first because Henry spoke last.
Yeah.
I think it will filter it all the way down because just like the EFL, well, they want to see how the Premier League, how they set the example, and then try and filter it down, see if what they do can work down from the Championship and below. I mean, I think I was reading, I'm sure it was the other day, I'm sure Chelsea have said, I don't know whether this is for one of their friendlies or they've said from the start of the Premier League season, you've got to show that you've either been double vaccinated or you show a negative lateral flow test. So I think Chelsea might have already said something on those lines. So, but I can't be sure something I read about it. But I think the EFL will filter it all that just so it gives that assurance and that safety that, you know, as Henry said, you want to be walking into the ground knowing that, people have either been vaccinated or if those who choose not to have it, you know, they've taken at least a lateral flow test and they're showing they're negative and the crowd there. So hopefully there's no, you know, say an infection. Well, somebody's got COVID and then it spreads to one and then it spreads to thousands. We don't want to end up like, well, going into like a lockdown and then the season's like the season before last, you know, it went down for 3 months and then we're having to like catch up again, which no one can afford to do, especially with the World Cup next year being in the winter time. So it's going to get, if it's something like that to happen again, another lockdown, I think it would be, let's say, it'd screw everything up for the footballing world. It would.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of whether they'll filter it down. I think they will. Part of me is really hoping they will, but part of me is thinking, not for a selfish reason, but you know what? This could actually really help the non-league game. This could actually really help the non-league and lower league games. It genuinely could. And again, health comes first. So I think they will filter it down, and I would completely agree with it. But at the same time, you're looking at it and thinking, you could get crowds of like, you know, that would be normally 5,000 or 6,000 up to 10,000 a non-league game, League Two or League One game or something. So, you know, I mean, selfishly for a lot of people, you know, thinking, and a lot of clubs, you're thinking free for all. Even I don't agree with it. In part of my head is saying, go on, why not? But the other part is saying, yeah, it could be really damaging if they, you know. I think it should just be a lateral flow test. If you've had the vaccine, fair enough, show your passport. If you've had a negative test, I think that should be absolutely fine, because I don't think many people have like big problems with like showing negative tests. I don't think that's a big issue. I think the vaccine is a little bit of a, you know, sticking point for people, and I completely get that. But I think a negative test for the people that haven't got the vaccine should be enough. And because you can't pick and choose who you want to go into a ground if you're the government. You can't turn it into a dictatorship where you're bullying people around. You know, you've got to cater to everyone, because that makes it fair. And Fred said, how do you prove you had a negative test? You literally you log that you've had a negative test. You scan a barcode and it says negative test, and you go in. You can't lie about your school. You can't lie about your negative test either, because it's obviously got its own like barcode, whatever. So you can't. I don't know how it's done, but you can't lie about it. So I've been told anyway. So you just show it on your phone, simple as that, and happy days. So again, they should cater to everyone. Stop this one person go in, the other can't. That's not fair. That's not fair. It should be, everyone should be able to get in one way or another.
Absolutely, yeah. And just to finish it off, I have just quickly pulled up the article about the test event against Tottenham Arsenal. Supporters under the age of 18 are not part of the trial and do not need to show a negative test. So So that's a good bit of news, because I know that people under 18, a lot of them are not vaccinated yet, haven't even had the first vaccine and that. So it's good that the younger generation is still allowed to go to football matches. But as it says here, it means supporters wanted to attend. They must prove they are fully vaccinated against coronavirus or had a negative test within 48 hours of the match, like you said, Henry. This is how they're working it. The trial comes in after the announcement of the government for October the 1st. Spurs spokesman said Tottenham Hotspur will be trying the use of the NHS COVID pass to verify vaccination or COVID status of supporters attending our men's and women's matches against us. Oh yeah, I think it's a back-to-back, that one, the double header. This follows recent government announcements that the necessity for the club to bring preparation for potential or full vaccination against COVID-19 for being a condition of entry to large events from the 1st of October. But also, I know that the Premier League were looking to introduce that sooner, right at the start of the season. They're going to go, rightly or wrongly, for people's opinion, that's their choice. Listen, I'm going to end it there because we have been going for nearly an hour and a half, and I don't want Ben shouting at me, how long have you been going? But again, boys, absolutely great debate. And Andrew, thank you very much for your time tonight. Henry, once again, thank you for your time as well. And we shall see you all in the next one.